What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. We just had match day 6 and 7. We also had an appearance by Brother Enoch in Challenger Circuit, so we'll talk to him a little bit about Challenger Circuit and how that went. But we've got a lot to talk about here today. We just got out of a long conversation with our interview that's going to be here later, Kimchi. It was an awesome interview with Kimchi. And then we probably had a conversation that was longer than the interview after the interview was over. So Kimchi will definitely be back on the show. That is a dude. That's our guy. Kimchi, an absolute dude. Love that guy. But let's check in with the boys real quick before we get into the match days. Weeps, how are you doing, my man?
Doing pretty good. I've been ranking a lot. I'm like top 70 right now, and I've only played like 60 hours, which is pretty fucking solid. Can't complain, man. Loving life.
Hey, you were back on the broadcast. You were back on the main broadcast. We saw you up on there. You got to break down the final circle a little bit. How was that?
That was fun, dude. Dude, it's such a cool feeling being a part of like ALGS, you know, even though it's just like a guest appearance, but like to be a part of, you know, the biggest tournament in my game, like I fucking love it. So that was really cool. She did hit me with a question about Gibby, which I haven't played in season 20 yet, asking about like the perks. Had no idea. Tried to dance around the question. People in chat caught on, but other than that, we're good.
There we go. Beautiful. I love to see it. Honestly, the only team playing Gibby, I think, was Optic, and they never got to purple. I don't think they ever got to purple, so they never even got to try out the perks. I think it was the big bubble,
baby bubble,
or the small bubble.
Well, it's the baby bubble or the long. So you get the baby bubble with a shorter cooldown, or you get the same bubble with 4 seconds, I believe, added on to the timing.
Longer.
There we go. Bubble bunker. But yeah, so that was still cool seeing you on there. That's awesome to see as always. And then E, how was your week and challenge?
We made finals. And you know, for a team that doesn't scrim, I'm not even gonna lie. We like typically like leading up to the first CC, we ranked like the week before, like week and a half. Like we decided to do it like a couple days before, but like we would consistently play. This CC, I think us three as a team ran collectively maybe like 4 or 5 hours of playing the game together, and we showed up, and you know, we showed out, we made finals, and then we only can go up from our last finals performance. So far, we are 18th and 20th in our first and second finals of CC, and you know, we're getting a lot of mistakes out of the way. We're learning a lot each time. And I definitely think it's going to be a situation where we're only going to get better. We got individually, we're all pretty up there. I would say in terms of CC, I would say we're one of the best group of individuals collected on one roster. I think we got a lot of talent, and once we get more comfortable in those situations and in those finals lobbies and really settle in, I think we'll be cruising. But obviously, we got a lot of work to do because, I mean, dude, some days you just have bad days of Apex, and I'm not gonna lie, we were contested on our lava fissure, and the second contest that we did, this dude, I'm gonna give him a shout out. It's his is at Wnioh, so WHYNIOH. I believe that's it. I could be wrong, but this dude is on Seer. Me and Morbid are swinging through this staircase in one of the donuts. He peeks the corner, collats us, unpeaks, slides back, hits a wall bounce, headshots Morbid, and then bodies me while I'm able to do 60 damage. And he straight 1v2s the shit out of us. And then our third trial, we just don't.
What weapons?
2 of us just don't get guns. It was just a rough day, but dude, that was by far like the most gross contest play I've ever seen, and it happened on me.
What weapons did he have?
No, literally, I legitimately, you can. I mean, I'm sure that people are gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, okay, he's coping, but I legitimately think the longbow is the only gun that we lose that 1v2 in, just because I don't think that there's another gun that would have been able to, because like the only reason that we lose that is because his first shot double collats us. So his first shot, he hits Morbid for 55, me for like 39, because it's a little bit less because it's going through it. But then he headshots Morbid and then bodies me. And if he doesn't get the collat damage, I kill him 10 times out of 10. But he just, it was just disgusting.
Y'all got put on the bird.
I don't even know if he's like, I don't even know if he's like that in terms of like posting. If it's on the bird, I'll retweet it.
You gotta retweet
he
that.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't post it.
Yeah. You gotta
hit him up and just be like, bro, you just gotta.
Bro, please post that shit.
I might post it. I'm gonna be like, I'm posting this because he's not.
Please post it.
But this was the most vile thing that I've ever seen a player do on a contest. Like, it was actually just gross. 1v2'd with 5 longbow shots. 5.
Well, not great, but we still have.
We got 2 more chances. CC3, CC4.
CC.
The boys are going to be locked. We're confident. We're excited. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the fact that like you could look at it and you could be like, dude, you guys finished 20th. I mean, you guys finished 18th and 20th. Like, why are you like confident that you guys are going to do well? Like, there are teams that legitimately scrim 4 or 5 times a week, VOD review, the whole 9 yards, that don't make it to finals. Like, there's so many good CC teams that don't make it to finals. Like, Rogue and them placed second in the last finals. They didn't make it. And then Presley's team, who won the last finals, didn't make this finals either. And so, like, and they're not the only teams. Like, there are incredibly talented teams that aren't making it to finals. And so the fact that we are putting in the absolute, like, bare minimum effort you could possibly be putting forth into Comp Apex and consistently making finals, like, we're 15th right now. And I feel like we've played bad each day, like, every time. And so once we actually get our, like, good days going, I think it's gonna be fun.
There we go. And my week was very basic, very normal. Nothing too much to say. Just living life. Hockey, almost to playoff time. Trade deadline around the corner. That's where my focus is right now. Other than ALGS, it's hockey season. I'm ready to go. Colorado Avalanche going to win another one. Okay, let's get into the match day number 6. Match day number 6. Let's run through the top 5 real quick. We got Eternal EC coming out of nowhere with the first place win. They make one roster change. Everything changes for them. They get a win, although I will do a little bit of a foreshadowing. They do not do well in day 7. But day 6, Eternal EC, they come away with the win. Dark Zero right behind them at second place. Legacy gets the 3rd. Moist Esports gets 4th. And Sentinels gets 5th. If we look around at some of these other notable teams around the rest of the scoreboard, Complexity at 6th. E8 at 7th. Xset needed a good day. They got 8th. Optic at 10th. Disguise, DSG, I'll get to them in a moment. They got 11th. Space Station at 13th. And then at the very bottom right there, we've got FaZe at 18th. Furia at 19th. A lot of storylines with this first day. A lot of things that went down. I think the most notable one was Eternal EC coming away with the victory in this day. They had just, I believe they only had the 1 win, but their placements around the rest of the day. They had a 3rd, another 3rd, and a 2nd, and they had a lot of kills put on top of that. They come away with a fantastic day. So shout out to Eternal EC for that. Did you guys see any other storylines that you guys wanted to highlight before we go into the rest of this day?
I think just complexity, and Dark Zero with 2 second places back to back. I mean, just consistency at its finest.
Yeah, in terms of, dude, shout out the EEC boys. First, dude, like, we need to put a little spotlight on the boy McLovin. McLovin is a guy who had, like, he played for it was like the Denver Thuggets or whatever it was. They had
I love that name.
Something like
Wicked
that.
name.
And I believe, like, they almost qualified for Pro League. They were, like, one of the teams that were, like, fairly close. But this was a guy that was apparently getting egoed by a bunch of teams in CC ended up qualing for the CC finals with the team that he put together. And then he gets an opportunity to get picked up by EEC when everybody is looking at the EEC guys saying like, oh, they're dropping their carry, whether you're dropping your best player. They pick up McLovin. McLovin comes in, first time IGLing an NA Pro League, hardest region in the world. And the dude walks away with a first place. Like, that's straight baller.
Who did they drop from McLovin?
I believe they dropped Void.
Yep.
Yes, it was Void.
And so it's
so they come out of nowhere.
Baller.
They have a fantastic
like, yeah, you
day.
just
Shout him
like that. You
shout him
just got to
McLovin.
put respect on that man's name, because I mean that is not an easy thing to do, and he did it with a team that has been struggling the majority of the split, and it really just shows how much of a difference an IGL makes on a team, and how I would say like without a doubt the IGL is like no question the most valuable role, and how much of a difference maker you can have in that position.
Exactly. I did a lot of extensive research on DSG Disguised. They come away with an 11th. There's, I think, on the right now they're on the outside looking in, but just by a few points. Last week, Peeps brought up the point that Disguise could be one of those teams that falls out of the top 12 if they can't figure out how to maintain positive vibes and keeping forward. And I knew this day was in a little bit of trouble when after the first match, Design called Enemy a little cocksucker. like right off the rip, I was like, okay, something's going on here. So the one thing I wanted to bring up with Disguise is that they actually got bailed out this day. It could have been way worse. There were a few major things that happened here that allowed them to be able to get to the 11th spot. They were very lucky to get to that 11th spot. One of them was Timmy being an absolute movement god. I believe it was game 5. Enemy and Design both go down. Bad rotate coming out of Cenote Cave. They go down. Timmy is bouncing off of walls, getting shot from all angles, hiding in places, bang smoking things off, making sure he stays alive. And he arguably could have stayed alive a little bit longer. He tried to evac out and get away before other teams found him. I think if he holds on, and he even said it in the broadcast, he said, I think I could have waited a little bit longer to do that. They probably gain another 2 or 3 placements, because right after that happens, Furia gets in a fight with SSG. They both kill each other, and then another team thirds SSG. And so they probably could have got a little bit better there. The other one was in the final game. I swear, Enemy, when he goes to hide in a corner, his head is a magnet for high caliber bullets. He takes the biggest shots when he's trying to hide and get a bat off, more than I've ever seen. Like, he just takes huge bullet. So he gets knocked. I think he gets Krabered as they're trying to rotate out in the final game. Design and Timmy go crazy running up a hill. They have the low ground. They get a bunch of kills off of that. I think they got 4 each. And then Design is able to battle his way out to a 3rd place. That doesn't happen, man. It is looking way worse for them. So all things considered, despite the fact that the comms were off, despite the fact that the vibes were off, they were able to maintain an 11th place that I think they should be very happy for. I know it sounds weird to say because it's fucking 11th, but when you start off the first game with the vibes like that, and then you still manage to get up to there in your final games, that I think that does really well for you. They're still struggling to find their footing in World's Edge. They also changed their composition many times on this day, which I'm going to give a little bit of leniency for, because it is the brand new season 20, but they're going to want to find a way to kind of lock in and figure out what they want to run, because I think that was a contributor to why they were struggling a little bit, because when you're switching every single game based on how you played on the last game, it makes it a little tough. It also is tough because when they entered that day, you could tell there was already kind of some hesitation on what they wanted to do for their composition. I think the first game they ran Fuse, Wraith, Caustic, and they had ideas for it. And I see what Timmy wanted to do with it, but it just wasn't. They're getting extra damage on teams, but they're not necessarily getting the kills. And they're not necessarily forcing teams out towards them. It's more towards other teams. And then those other teams take their kills
Yeah,
from them.
they cooked.
You know what I'm saying?
And it just did not. It just did not go well. It did not.
It didn't cook.
They didn't eat though. They
Yeah.
cooked, but they didn't eat.
They cooked, they
But
didn't eat.
I do want to say Disguise, right, has only 4 days played, and they're sitting 1 point away from tying with Drop In Gaming for the 12th final spot for LAN, and DIG has already played their 5th day. And the only teams above them that have played that have only played 4 days, is Legacy, which is the old LG squad, Viva Mexico, and Furia, and Moist Esports, right? Below
So they're not
them,
sitting too bad.
They're not sitting too bad. They're actually sitting really well. Below them, the only teams that could really challenge them that have only played 4 days is Xset, which is sitting 7 points behind them. And you can't count those boys out. So they're sitting pretty good. Optic is 2 points below them, and they've played 5. Ape Gang is 4 points below them. They've played 5. Native Gaming, 5 points below them. They've played 5 days. So I got faith that we'll see Timmy Design an enemy at LAN. I mean, the individual talent on that team is absolutely insane, and I know Timmy and the boys got some passion.
Yeah, it's always very funny to watch Timmy try to calm down enemy and design from wanting to rip each other's heads off. It's always fun. Like if there was a have to watch ranking, they're sitting number 1. Like you have to watch them. Like they are just one of those teams that is so fun to watch, and it's just chaotic. Like it's a fun time no matter what happens. When they're doing well, it's chaotic. When they're doing bad, chaotic. Either way, they're having a blast, and I still think they're going to qual for LAN. But today, I think they got a little bit lucky with the 11th place. Some other teams around this day, if we look at Legacy, they actually didn't have that great of placements. They were just able to kind of get by with some of the kills they got. If we look at SSG, the opposite. They had great placements, really no kills. So, and they dropped all the way down to 13th. Legacy getting a third here was actually like really big for them moving forward as well. They were another team on the outside looking in. So that them getting that was very, very big. And then I keep going back to my team Complexity here. Dude, Complexity, Monsoon is insane right now. And we'll get to more Complexity on day 7, the second day on this doubleheader. Insane what this guy is doing right now. So Complexity still doing very, very well. Near the bottom, we've got FaZe and we've got Furia. Furia really struggling. FaZe has been struggling for a while now. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're in like the bottom 8, I think. They're not doing too hot. So anything else you guys have from this first day?
Not for me.
I'm trying to find the battle. Okay, I found the Battlefied with the thing.
Yeah, Battlefied is better than Liquipedia.
Dude,
right
yeah,
now,
RIP Liquipedia.
Can we let's make a note real quick. Liquipedia, if you're listening to this podcast, which I'm totally sure you are, can you guys go back to the old way you did it before, where it was day 1 through 9 instead of round 1, A versus B, B versus C, C versus A? Like the old way you guys had it was so good, and I don't know why you opted to change it. Let's go back because it does make it very difficult to figure this out. But yeah, I think those were all the major storylines.
I do want to give some acknowledgement and some shout outs to the Temper boys who have a 12th place finish on this day, picking up 24 kills and a 5th place. And this is a team
that was day 7.
I think. Day? Okay, I'm on March 3rd.
Yeah, that was day 7. I wanted to talk about them though. We will get to them. Okay. Other than that, yeah, I think that just about does it for day number 6. Like I said, there's still some teams out there that need to figure it out. Optic being one of them, Xset needing to be one of them. We said coming out of the break that they needed to probably try to win a day to really solidify their spot moving into this next land. They get an 8th exit, 10th for Optic. Still trying to figure it out. But that's kind of where we are at right there. Let's move on into day number 7, and we'll go through the top 5 real quick. Complexity wins the day again by a point. Guess who's second? It's Dark Zero. Dark Zero is second, and they're going to land. They've qualified for land so heavy, they should just automatically get to go to the second land because that's how far in front they are from the second place team. Native Gaming, we'll get to them in a second. They get third. SSG gets fourth, and Oxygen Esports gets fifth. Notable teams around the rest of the scoreboard here: LG at 6th, TSM at 7th. We have Drop In Gaming at 10th, Elevate at 11th. We've got FaZe down there at 13th, a little bit better of a day. Optic at 15th, that one's tough. And then GKS, they are now they got a 16th. They needed to keep going, and our winners from day number 6, EEC, down there at 19th. Main storyline from this one here, I think, has to be Complexity. Like I said earlier, we'll talk more about Complexity. Monsoon is just, I don't know if we've ever, like, when you talk about using a Sentinel in the highest level of Apex Legends gameplay, you would automatically think you're throwing. In this case, it's one of the rare occasions where it's just working so well. It's just working. It's like having a running quarterback. A lot of times a running quarterback doesn't work. But when your running quarterback is Michael fucking Vick, it's going to work. Like, it's just going to work. And that's right now what Complexity is. Monsoon with the Sentinel is despicable, and they just continue to do well. Second overall in the overall standings right now. Second. People had them in the bottom 8 in like preseason. Bottom 8. Had them not even, like, Complexity is going absolutely insane right now.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to Alberlele as well, man. So apparently he's quitting comp now. It's gotten a lot, too toxic for him, and I just want to. I'm sure not a lot of people that are listening are pieces of shit and assholes in life, but do understand the things you write on the internet do have a lasting effect on some people. And we're losing one of the greatest players to ever touch this game in competitive. I mean, touch this game, period. But we're losing him in competitive because of that. They haven't been doing too well, and there's always people that want to talk shit. Skirt unfortunately did get last place on day 7, but it just sucks to see, man. Sucks to see.
Day 7 still?
Yeah, no, we're on to that. You want to do Temper now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, now that we're actually on pace. Yeah, dude, Temper comes out with a 12th place. They have 24 kills and a 5th place placement. And I believe that this is a team, like, this is by far their best performance, at least that I've seen. And so it's nice to see that this was a team that was, like, struggling to pick up any points. Be able to have a 31-point day is absolutely huge and really shows a lot to that these guys aren't just satisfied with being in Pro League, but that they want to really just show that they can compete and do their thing against the best players in the world. And it took them a little bit of a rough start, had a couple rough days, but it seems that they've been learning and that they've been growing. And if they keep on heading in this direction, it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
I watched a lot of Temper, and we've had Temper on the show. We had the full team. Dude, they told us that they did not care about contests. They said they felt comfortable with contests. They were shitting on their contests. They didn't win all of them, but the ones that they were winning were in dominant fashion. They were having a blast on contests. We talked about this on the mid-season show, where some of these teams getting to Pro League, even though they may not make it to LAN, probably won't make it to LAN, and maybe might make bottom 8, they're still working together as a team, and they're still going together as a team, and they've continued to do that thing. And it's already hard because when you're a bottom team, You have to contest. You're forced to. And instead of just being like, okay, well, let's try to make roster changes to do this, that, or the other, Temper's just like, fuck it. We're just going to contest and we're going to ball out. And for the most part, they've been doing a pretty decent job. They're no longer last place in the league. I think they're second to last now. But I'm not making a joke. Like, I actually think that's 29th. A big deal because they had 1 point. Yeah, they had 1 point for a while there. And so this, for them, I think is actually really big. I really like those guys. When they came on the show, they were awesome. So I like to see them succeed. And I really like Addy was having a day. So it was really cool to see Temper get up to 12th. And they had some good placements too. They were getting some decent placements when obviously they like weren't losing the contest. So it was cool to see Temper do that. I wanted to go over to Native Gaming. Obviously, they make a big roster change. They move on. And it was a bad day to be a 30 rack of Coors Light because they got 2 wins on day 7. You already know Rambo was crushing those things. I put out a tweet. I had like over under 3.5 beers before the first win. I would say under on that. But after that first win, I would easily hit the over. And then after the second win, if it was over under 27.5, I might hit the over. Getting 2 wins on a match day right after you like made a big change to your team, and then you're able to see yourself jump all the way up into third, huge. And we also got to see Rambo on the broadcast. His hair has only gotten more luscious. It's just gotten better as time has gone on, and now he has the beard, which I don't think he had in our original interview with Rambo. Rambo with the beard hair combo, bro. Come on,
next level.
It's next level. Okay, Dark Zero, I think we need to highlight here with the 2 back-to-back second places.
Consistency. I mean, dude, they're actually they're playing at a level that is like they look this is what I'll say. They look like how NRG used to look whenever they showed up for a 5 to 10K tourney. Cuz like I don't know if y'all remember when NRG had Nathan and Guild heading into that pro league, they were sweeping absolutely everybody's shit in all of these third-party tournaments. And then they weren't able to have that same dominant performance in pro league. But what they were doing in those is like what Dark Zero is doing. Like Dark Zero shows up every single match day and gets that shit done. And I don't think they've had a day where they've placed outside the top 5. They're playing a different game than everybody else. And like you will like how always it will be like, I think especially after his last performance at LAN, like will go down as like the best to play, like the best player to play. But Zero, if he keeps on performing the way he has, might take the title of best IGL. I'll still say that like Hal's got that locked in, as at least in my eyes, due to everything that he's accomplished. But dude, if this dude Zero keeps on showing up and showing out the way he has, like you can tell that when Zero didn't make finals at LAN, like that dude, a fire must have been lit. When you go from like, imagine all of the shit talk that TSM Nation had to have been throwing that man's way, and he just came out and he let this season do all of the talking.
It's literally like Brady Manning situation where we've got 2 absolute ballers, absolute greats, and there's going to be one who wins. There's going to be one that's clearly better, which is Peyton Manning in the thing that I just laid out. But
I would say it's slightly different because in this circumstance, both the players don't cheat.
Oh, don't do this. I'm fine with the Brady.
I'm just saying. At least we're comparing 2 non-cheaters with Hal and Zero.
We could use our heads, all right, and listen to scientists about the Flakegate, and then if you want to watch about Spygate, there's a brand new docuseries.
Yeah.
Documentary.
Okay, I just want to say that Peeps is literally suggesting that we go watch Patriots propaganda as in a defense for his point.
No,
he's actually
it actually makes us look bad. It makes us look
Listen
bad.
to the big Patriot documentary that they put out. See, the thing is, right? It makes you guys
Big
look
Patriot
bad
got to him.
because they had to show enough because they know that y'all are shady that they had to show some of the shady. So you could be like, oh yeah, we don't do everything clean by the book, yeah. But then the real stuff, like they kept that out of the documentary.
All I'm saying, Spygate was 2007. All right, It was game 1 of the 2007 year. All right, against the Jets, game 1. After that, we were under so much scrutiny. All right, where they literally brought like special equipment to monitor the airwaves and like some other shit. We went 16-0. No, sorry, 18-0. Went 18-0, 16-0 in the regular season. Lost to the fucking Giants in the Super Bowl. Fuck that. And in Deflategate, you just listen to scientists, bro. Literally, scientists from around the world have said you take something with air pressure, you put it in a hot climate, you put it in a cold climate, it's going to lose air pressure. Same thing with your tires.
Deflategate turned regular Americans into scientists because everybody was trying to figure it out for their own. Which I think that's a perfect analogy for the United States. If you want us to learn something quickly, relate it to football, and we'll learn it super fast. Like we'll learn it. We'll learn it instantly. But going back to my analogy with the Brady Manning thing, it's because when 0 won, Howell was getting all the hate. Howell was like, okay, like everybody's going to Howell being like, yeah, you know what, 0 might be a little bit better. And then Howell wins, and now it goes back to 0, and 0 is just dominating right now in Pro League. Obviously, this isn't the playoffs yet. This isn't real. This is just to get them in there. But these two fuel the fire for one another, and they may not say that, but you can't tell me that that's not a major contributing factor to why they continue to get better and better and better. And who benefits the most from it? Us. We get to watch this. We get to enjoy this. We get to sit back and be like, holy shit. And we get to have these debates because I was sitting on the toilet thinking about it. I don't know why I said I was sitting on the toilet. Irrelevant info. I was thinking about this again after this weekend being like, dude, 0 just got second place back-to-back again. And they're 20 points clear of first place in Pro League right now. Like, maybe he is the best. And then you start to think that's what they're doing with each other right now. It's incredible to watch. It's awesome to see. Dark 0 is they're awesome, man. They are awesome. Going through some of these other ones here, Oxygen Esports. Hey, they don't have to contest. They're not worrying about a contest. Give them another 5th place. Give them another 5th place. They get another 5th place. They don't have to worry about a contest. That shows how good that team still is for anybody who is still wondering. I watched, and then right below them, I watched a lot of LG. Watched a lot of Luminosity Gaming. Very similar to what I said with Disguised. This 6th place could have been drastically worse because some of the mistakes that were coming out of LG were inconceivable. There was one game where they were trying to evac out from staging. They were up on the train tracks and they were trying to leave. And I believe it was Funk didn't think he was going to be able to make it on his evac. So he just jumped off and Slayer and he obviously ends up dying. And then Slayer and Sweet are in this little cavern trying to just survive as long as they possibly can. They probably could have got a win on the final match of the day. I believe that was TSM who ended up winning it because they were right below the rock on Storm Point. I believe it was next to North Pad. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to win there. Yeah, and they couldn't get that one because I don't know exactly what went wrong there, but I felt like they were going to win that game, and something went wrong there. So
someone got
they
clipped.
had some, yeah, I think so. I'm not 100%, but they just had a lot of inexplicable mistakes, like ults not coming out from Slayer on the caustic, just little things here and there that they can fix and make a little bit better. But to have a bad day like that and then to get the 6th place anyway is why LG is LG. and it could have been a lot better. Also, could have been a lot worse. So that was LG. TSM is right behind them at 7th place. I didn't get to see a whole lot of TSM today, but it looks like, I mean, a 7th place is definitely not to their standards. Did you guys see anything from TSM?
I was ranking for the most of it. So I only watched the first 3 games and then a little bit of the last one where TSM won. But yeah, I mean, listen, TSM is sitting pretty at 5th overall in the standings. You get them at LAN, it's a whole different monster. It's a whole different monster. So I got faith in the fellas. I think they're going to do really well. Not the greatest showing from them online, but 5th place is a 5th place. D's get degrees, so as long as they're booking their flight to wherever the location is.
We still got to figure that out.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
but I can't say it.
Oh,
It's gonna be a fun one.
Interesting.
It's going to be a fun one.
Interesting. But yeah, TSM, it looks like just from looking at the stats here, I was more focused in and locked in on LG and complexity, but just from the stat sheet, it looks like they were getting decent placement, just not getting a whole lot of kills. So, which is something that we had talked about earlier on in the season, where they were getting the spots, they just weren't getting those kills that they kind of need. So we'll see what happens there. This is still very early into season 20, so they still need to kind of work out some of the kinks like we talked about with some of these other teams. But other than that, not too many other things to talk about other than Optic with the 15th place. They are in danger here of not making LAN. They were putting out some tweets saying like, we were working through it. We don't really know what's going on. Don't really understand it, but we're trying our best to figure it out. They did bring back the Gibraltar, but the one thing that I saw, and this actually came from a chat, from chat, there was a chatter who was like, Optic hasn't gotten to purple all day long. And it was true. Like, they rarely, I don't think they ever, at least that I saw, they were never at purple. They might have gotten there when I wasn't paying attention to them. They don't really stream it, so it's hard to see. But yeah, I mean, if you're not getting to purple in some of these games, you're looking at a team like Disguised, who is walking out of their POI in purple, and if you're still white or blue, it's going to be tough to win. And I like the idea of bringing back the Gibraltar, but I do think they got to be a little bit more careful with the Gibraltar. If they still have to qualify for this thing, they got to make sure that they're able to get enough points to get in there. So at a certain point, you got to look and just be like, okay, maybe we try to qualify, we get in, everything changes. Just like Pete said with TSM, you get in, everything changes. I think that's the focus right now. Needs to be we just got to get in there. We just got to get in there. Anything else from you boys on the final day?
No, I to bring up Optic again, I think it's crazy to think that at Champs last year in Birmingham, they almost won the whole thing in the first 3-4 games, right? And now to be sitting at a spot where you might not make it, I believe they have one more game day? Correct? Anybody know?
Let me look right now.
Dude, they got to have like a top 5 if they have any chance, because they got Disguised right in front of them, which I would say Disguised has like a fairly good day. And then if you're an Optic fan, you just got to be praying on Furia's downfall.
Yeah, they only have one day left. And then the final.
It is on March 10th, so that's a big thing to look out for that day. I mean, they're not too far away. They're 3 places from 3 points away from tying the final spot, right? But the final spot's probably going to be taken by Disguised at the moment, because they've only played 4 days. They got to have a big day, man. They got to have a big day, or they're not booking their flights to LAN.
The one thing that they have, the one feather in their cap, is that GKS is just a few points above. Let's say, for instance, Optic is able to get that top 5 that Enoch was talking about, top 3 even. GKS at 5 days as well, and they skated by with just 4 points on this last day. I believe they got what did they get here? They got
GKS, yeah, they had a rough day.
16th.
They definitely had a rough day. So Optic
tough
needs
day.
GK because Furia has 2 days left to play, right? And so does Legacy. So they really just they're relying on Drop-In Gaming and GKS having rough days because there's just no way that Legacy, Furia, and Disguised aren't able to unless they just have just absolute down bad back-to-back days, which I mean you just are not going to expect from teams that are as good as Furia and Disguise. Like they're just really just hoping that Drop-In Gaming has a rough day and GKS, because I think Drop-In Gaming they only have 1 day left as well, right?
Not Drop-In Gaming. Yeah, they have 1 day left. They're sitting 1 point above Disguise, 3 points above Optic. But not only do they have to hope and pray that GKS and Dig, has an awful day, they better hope that Ape Gang, Native Gaming, and Exit, which still has 2 days to play.
It's tough scenes.
Don't do well either.
It's actually the more we talk about it, the less it sounds like we're going to be seeing Optic in the green wall at LAN, which is just wild to think about.
There's a big possibility that they do make it. There's also a massive possibility that they don't. So up in the air, the boys got to want it. No mistakes this final day.
Yeah, so that should just about do it for the second day. Before we send you guys into this interview with Kimchi, let's go through real quickly the top 12 as it stands right now on the overall standings. Obviously, Dark Zero number 1, Complexity number 2, Luminosity number 3, Moist 4, TSM 5, SSG is 6, Elevate 7th, Oxygen 8th, GKS 9th, Legacy 10th, Furia and Drop-In 11 and 12th. So we're getting into a tight race here coming down the stretch. We got to figure out, once this whole thing figures out, it's going to be very interesting to see. I will say it's going to be really unfortunate if Optic doesn't make it, man. Like you always want to have a big org like Optic there. So I hope they can figure it out. If I had to pick, I want to put them in just because I think it would just be much better for the sport to have them in there. It's almost like, sometimes you hate a team in a sport, but if they're a big enough draw, it's just better when they're there. That they have to be there. So let's hope they can figure it out. Right before we send it on down, biggest winner from the week. I'll kick it off with my biggest winner from the week. I'm actually going to say Disguised. Believe it or not. They get in 11th place. I already described it wasn't super easy for them, and they arguably could have gotten much, much worse. But because they were able in those very few games to scrape some of those measly little points to keep them in this race here, I think that's the biggest thing for them, because now they're only sitting 1 point out, and they still have the ability to bounce back on these next few days. I'm going to say my biggest winner, not only because they were able to scrape away some points, but Ape Gang getting 20th on day 7 is huge for them. It's more about the teams who didn't do well that's helping out Disguised. That's why I say they're my biggest winner from this week, because now they can go into that final day with a clear heart, clear mind, go in there, have a blast, rock it, and get themselves into LAN. That'll be my biggest winner. Either of you.
Go ahead, E.
For the next day of games we got going up?
This the week of games.
Okay,
just
so
overall.
Both?
Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback off of you, because I'll say that I think Disguised is primed to have a really good day. I think that by the time that they come around for this next week, they're really going to have their comp figured out. And once they get that comp figured out and they're not running around on the Fuse Caustic Wraith, which just was not hidden, I think that we'll expect them to have like a really good week. Because I thought Disguise was going to have I thought they were going to be one of the teams that was going to be capitalizing the most off of the season change, which we haven't quite seen yet. Because they were in the kitchen, but as Peep said, they didn't eat, which is actually just, I'm definitely going to be stealing that. That is such a fire. That is such a fire saying.
You better give me fucking props on that, all right?
I got you. And then, but I will say that I think that Exet could have the lock in 2 games. Like, I think if XSET has back-to-back top 5 performances and walks away with a win on one of these days, that they are stamping their ticket to land. They have 42 points, so they're 8 points under the cutoff, 7 points behind Disguised. But if they perform as well as we and everybody else thought that they were going to perform going into the season, they could get it done. I'd also say that
Koifel with another 12 kills, bro.
And I'd also say
He's
another
killing.
team that I would keep an eye on is Native Gaming. They get the addition of Luxford. You got the new teammate, and they show up, show out, walk away with the 3rd place. We already highlighted that earlier. But this is a team that we see, they have a new addition. They're running a little bit of a different comp. I believe they're playing Bang, Caustic, Seer. They got the Seer out there. Which is different, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see. Those would be my teams that you would definitely want to keep an eye on, that are outside currently, but could make their way in with a big week.
Yep. I will say I ran into the boys today, Rambo and Klain. Klain absolutely pushed like an idiot across the open with Sierra, we'll say. But Rambo was on his P's and Q's and was going insane with the Nemesis. All right. The boys are absolutely locked. But I think biggest winners of the week, man, without a doubt, and I'm surprised you guys did not say this, it's got to be between Dark Zero and Complexity. Complexity proves all the haters' wrongs, shuts them the fuck up. They're solidified in a spot where they're really comfortable. I think Kimchi told us it was a 99.9% chance they make land. Like, you're basically booked. So that's one. And then Dark Zero here, they're 100% going to land. And not only that, they can now grief a couple teams that sort of get in the way on this final match day that they have. Yeah, they have one more match day. They could spend their entire day just griefing teams that might get in the way of their rotations or have been a pain in the ass to them in the past. And they don't have to worry about doing well. I know they're not going to do that. They're not going to throw away their games. They're still going to compete at the highest level possible that they can. But to have that weight off your shoulders, knowing, like, dude, we're the best team in North America right now, like, I think confidence is such a big thing. And they're swinging cock, man. They're absolutely swinging cock. So I think solidifying a hard first place between them and Complexity, biggest winners of the week.
There we go, ladies and gents. And speaking of Complexity, let's send it on down to their player, Kimchi. What a dog. I love Kimchi so much. That guy is awesome. And we had a great interview with him, over an hour talking to Kimchi. So let's hit a quick ad and send it on down to Kimchi.
You're going to need to throw this in at some point, but we have to give massive respect to that dude, Retzi, who I don't think I've seen that man touch Apex for 3 months. That dude literally plays Dark and Darker,
balled out
all day,
Dark and Darker,
running around casting spells and shit, and just pulls up and gets a first place subbing in for Kimchi. That is absolute just like big baller shit. And you just, like, if you're a team out there and you're looking for somebody to make your team instantly better, Retzi is looking like he's that guy.
Oh, yeah, there we go. We should have shouted him out earlier. I don't know why we didn't even mention that. That's our fault. Shout out Retzi for stepping in like that and then fucking winning the day. Shout out Retzi. Okay, now we're going to send it on down to Kimchi because Kimchi is a dog. Once again, let's hit a quick ad and send it on down to Kimchi. All right, here we are, ladies and gents. We have a very special guest with us here today. Complexity Kimchi is here in the flesh. My man, how are you doing?
Doing great. I know we chat for a little bit, right before this, and I'm still recovering. the age of 28, I'm feeling it now. You go out and party for one night. You got 3 days to recover, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I'm in the 28 club as well. We're in the same boat.
Let's go.
We feel
28 club. Right there.
Oh, you're in the 28 club
Bunch
too?
of old guys. Jeez.
Whoa,
Pay some respect to the elders.
Yeah.
I think this is the only group of Apex gamers that I could be in and be like the youngest dude, because I feel like I'm old at 26 in terms of like Apex time.
Well, you played with Little Fredson, so yeah, you should feel old.
Yeah, that's also
You're old phenom.
Yeah.
The goat.
So you went to a wedding for the second match day, right? That was why you weren't there. You guys had the sub. You had Retzi, and how was the wedding? How'd everything go?
It was beautiful. It was raining, so I know we were worried that the ceremony wasn't gonna be able to happen outside. So my friend and the bride, like they were like freaking out because it was the forecast said it's supposed to stop raining by like I think like noon. And at noon, it was just dumping outside. And so everyone was worried, but luckily, I don't know, it was like scripted almost, right? Maybe like an hour before the ceremony was to start, it finally started like letting up. Then just suddenly, clouds broke, sun started shining through a little bit. We all raced out, started, drying off the the chairs, and we're trying to rush to get everything ready to be on time. But yeah, the wedding was amazing. Beautiful, food was great, vibes were great, everything went smoothly, and yeah, it was it's been a while since I've been able to like hang out with him and like a bunch of other friends I got to see, so I had a complete blast.
There we go. And I'm sure it makes it a lot easier to have a fun time at a wedding after the banger weekend that Complexity just had. You guys absolutely fried. You got a 6th place and a 1st place. And then in the overall standings, you guys are sitting at 2nd place overall behind Dark Zero, which, to be honest, I mean, they're so far clear of everybody else. You guys right now are kind of sitting in like that 1st place of everybody else who's kind of within that range. And you guys are playing super well right now. How are you guys feeling? Like what's going on? Nobody expected this. Nobody expected Complexity to be here. Like what happened?
Yeah, so like one of my tweets, I said, we're building this up from nothing, and essentially it was, as you guys know, Complexity didn't get accepted into the EA partnership program for ALGS. That was tough, and so like we were unsure about like what our future was going to be looking like, like from who we were going to team with, like what like who we're going to pick up. Everything was all over, like up in the air, and like what was it? I want to say it was literally 3 days before the first match day we grabbed the Lou, and there's like no expectations. We kind of said, hey, we know this last minute, we know you're LFT, let's just go into this, let's keep vibes high, let's have a fun time, like let's just do our best. Then we had the first match day, we were conned, and that's actually our worst match day. Was that it was a 12th place finish, I believe, and we were contested. So we based on that, we knew that like we had something going. It was 12th place, but we had people putting no disrespect to them, but people were saying like that team's gonna smash us on the contest and everything, and that was EEC, and I was like, I'm not letting that happen. For one, Mon and I mean even Lou, like they Survey Epi is Complexity's home, right? So we were confident, we put the time in, and so basically we just said, look, we have something here and we can make something happen. Let's get into the lab and like let's take this seriously. And I think I can confidently say that the results kind of speak for themselves, right? We are now 2nd overall. We have 5 match days played, so I think the team right below us is Moist, and they only have 4. So technically, they're a really strong team. I see them probably passing us once they play, I think, this coming Saturday. But yeah, I mean, this is like you said, no one expected it. I could even say that before that first match day, didn't really expect it either. But here we are. We decided that we're gonna put the nose to the grindstone and put the work in.
So I got a question here. You said 3 days before day 1, you picked up Lou. who were the other prospects you guys were looking at in the free agent market for Apex players?
It was actually really tough because who we realistically wanted, that there weren't a lot of players that kind of fit that bill. We wanted someone who could have like a strong dynamic with Lou, or with Mon, I'm sorry, and that they could just kind of like my role as a support player. I don't really have to say too much. I just kind of feed information that I see. If I see someone wrapping our back, I say, guys, you need to turn around, stop looking for kills up front, or whatever that might be. But we needed someone that was going to play that dynamic duo with him. And Lou was fit that bill, luckily. But I think right before that, we had trialed Funk and Zainu together. That was a crazy duo. I mean, both those guys are insane players, and that was cool. But Zainu got a great offer and ended up joining Phony on SSG, and then Funk also got his offer with LG. And so then originally we were going to play with Reptar, but Reptar wanted to continue with his stream and ranked grind. And so we were just kind of looking around. We're like, okay, who fits these, criteria that we're looking for? And yeah, our pool wasn't that big, but that was just because at that time we wanted to be very strict on who we were even going to start looking at. Because I didn't want to just kind of waste time or waste anyone's time and be like, hey, let's trial, with the opportunity that they're like, oh, maybe they'll pick us up or pick me up or whoever that is. But if I'm thinking they don't really fit what we're looking for, I didn't even want to, bother, right? Because if they have other trials, I didn't want to take up that time either.
Respect that. Ironically, Reptar just got on Apex, by the way, the moment you said his name, which is funny.
That guy's a grinder.
But, yeah, he's grinding. E, what do you got for him?
Yeah, so you were coaching last season and have made the transition to playing again this season. At what point, when you guys were trying to figure out what the team would be, did you really make that decision?
So I think that turning point was probably when I got that feeling that I was like, Zainu was very transparent, letting us know that he had another team that he was going to trial with. And he shared that with me, and I was really appreciative of that, because we know how certain people can be, where they want to hide things and just kind of keep under wraps, which I never really understood. Because if you just tell me straight up, what am I going to do? I'm not going to try to sabotage your future career. And if you truly think that you would do better with a different team, go ahead. No harm, no foul. I don't care. And so when we started to kind of lose that was when the talks between Mon and I happened, where it was like, do you want to play? Mon knew, and people had asked before, like, hey, you used to play and then you started coaching. Would you ever play again? And I always said, if the opportunity arose, yeah, I would love to. I would always choose to play over coaching. In my opinion, it's a lot more fun. So that's what I wanted to do. And Mon knew that. And so we had talked about it, and then said, look, we can pick up a third player and let's get into it. So I was really excited. I knew that there was a lot of unrusting that needed to happen, which was a large majority as to why I really grinded the previous season. And so I put in a lot of hours. I think November, I forgot which month, but one of the months was like 300, it was like 355 hours streamed. And
is that the top 3 grind, top 2 grind that you had going on?
I mean, I'm going against all the man. Let me tell you, after the first couple of days of grinding and then starting to get tired and playing, people in chat be like, you're aiming like that right now? I'm like, dude, I'm on like 4 hours of sleep in the past 3 days. I got these aim assist doesn't get tired. It doesn't ever get tired. I got some of the craziest grinders right around me. I got Peep on my ass. I got Reptar right ahead of me. I got some more crazy grinders right below me. Then Peep, and Reptar know all too well. We had that zone healer coming out of nowhere, and we're watching him gain 4K every single day, and we're like, dude, something's got to happen. Like, this is tough. But yeah, I put in those hours because I knew that I was missing that a lot. Definitely when I was coaching, I wasn't playing the game that much. So in kind of expecting that could be a possibility that I come back into play, I wanted to ensure that even if there is that possibility, I wanted to be prepared for it.
So when you were going through and realizing, okay, I'm going to be playing now. I need to figure out, I need to get back into the grind. I need to get my game back. When you started going through that heavy grind, what were some of the biggest things that you realized you had to change? Like, what were some of those things you're like, damn, I'm rusty on this area. I need to clean this up a little bit before I get into pro league?
A lot of it would have to be kind of the execution of plans. And like as a coach, I could see I'm watching, right? I'm just watching. I'm not in that moment. So it's kind of like 24/7 you're a hindsight herald. I'm like, "Oh, you should have done that. You could have done that." But it's different in that moment, right? There's so much stuff going on. Things are constantly changing and you have to make decisions on the fly. And that was definitely my greatest shortcoming. There'd be times where we would die and I didn't even need to hear anything from Mon or whoever about like what needed to be done. I knew exactly what needed to be done. I was just lacking on it. Like I thought it, but like the execution wasn't there. And or like I thought it was trying to do it, but again, like just the way I actually would make that play happen just failed. Wall is too early, wall is too short, or should have been watching that slightly longer. Should have stopped shooting, 3 seconds earlier to be ready. Shouldn't have taken damage there. It's really like those little things because in the top lobby there, even taking 25 damage when you shouldn't take damage can be the reason why you get aped and die or don't have the health to be able to make the cross. Or if you're even 1 second behind your teammate when they're saying, all right, I'm going to bang smoke our cross and we're going to sprint out in the open to make it over to like our next spot. If you're that one guy lacking, everyone's calling you that. They're going to see the first two go, then they're going to be like, wait, I don't think the third's gone yet. They're going to be spam pinging that corner. You're going to turn that corner and get fried. So that was the biggest thing was definitely being able to be kind of speed the brain back up and be ready to be able to play in that chaos and make the correct decisions at those times.
So now that you're coming from being a coach for Complexity to being a player, right? Who took over the coaching spot? And by any chance, did you have to coach the coach on how Complexity sort of runs things for Apex?
No. So basically what they did was they looked at the roster and part of it was like a money thing and the whole not getting accepted into the partnership program. So they wanted to dissolve the coach position and just not have a coach at all. And so that kind of just came down to now it's just the three of us. We'll sit and call. We'll be in customs and we'll go over the VODs and go over it together. So instead of it being like a singular person kind of coaching, it is all of us coming together to take a look at what we need to do and what needs to happen. I don't know if in the future if they would ever want to have a coach on the team again or have that role open back up. But for now, I think what I'll try to do is even as a player, trying to bring that kind of coaching mentality in as well, of that level headed, because I think one of the greatest things that a coach provides is that fourth objective voice, right? You have three people who might be, the tensions are high, emotions are high. No, we should have done that play or whatever. And that kind of can become an ego match about like who thinks the right thing that needs to be done. And then you have that fourth voice who comes in, is kind of detached. It's kind of like a third party saying, nah, guys, like, let's chill for a second. This is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be happen. Hey, did you have utility available here? Did you have your ult? Whatever, asking those questions. So I try to bring that in. And I think as a whole, the team has kind of, we kind of just implemented it as a whole now. And we all do that together. So our VOD reviews and everything are pretty much go like how it was when I was just coaching Complexity last split.
Okay.
So you're sitting in the coaching. Let's just pretend in an alternate universe, you're sitting in the coaching chair for Complexity right now. You've seen all your VODs. You've watched all the games. You fucking played in them. But let's just pretend you're just coaching right now.
Yeah.
What is your guys' biggest issue?
I'd say our biggest issue right now is probably just understanding certain priorities and ensuring that everyone is looking at the right things and doing the right things at the right time, along with some adjustments with the new season. I won't sit here and say that we have the whole season completely figured out quite yet. I think we have a pretty strong grasp because of the work that we've been putting in and all the VOD reviewing we have been doing. But a lot of the times, I think our shortcomings come from maybe looking at the wrong thing at the wrong time and then failing to execute the important plan at the right time. We might very quickly get distracted by a small thing that we think is important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And we might sacrifice our entire game for 1 to 2 points for a kill or two, where if we just ignored it, moved forward, played the spot that and followed our usual plan that we had in place, we would have been able to net 10 more points. And, I'm sure you all know that there's that big conversion. Every team has that opportunity. You have that, your inner spot. There's that one next step that you have to do. And if you complete that step, the amount of points that you generate just go up like crazy. And that's definitely something I think that we can continue to work on.
What would your guys' biggest strength be?
I think it's our ability to keep. For one, definitely has to be. It has to be Mon and his macro right now. He is constantly putting us into amazing spots, understanding that conversion that needs to happen. We'll get into the spot and we'll talk about it. And what Lou brought, which was really amazing, was when we get into a spot, instead of sitting there silently, kind of like staring out a window for 2-3 circles, we're constantly talking with each other about working the circle pull. Where we think it's going, what's our best case scenario, what's our worst case scenario. If it's our best case scenario, we're already in a good spot and there's not much to talk about. You just play the game. If we're in God's spot, it's pretty straightforward. But what if there's some crazy counter pull and now we got to do something crazy? What do we need to achieve? Who do we need to kill? Who do we need to look at? Who do we need to pressure in order to facilitate that happen? Are we going to Valkyl? Are we going to pop an evac? Do we even have an evac? Because that's terrible if you're like, all right, guys, we've got an evac, and you open your inventory, no one's got one. Oh. And so I think that's from those guys bringing that together, like those strengths are just, it really allows us to be ready for a lot of situations. And then I would say also it's the vibes. Mon brings great vibes. Mon and I had already had, even just as like coaching, had a great dynamic coming into this season. And then even with bad games, it's just kind of like we're all good players that understand what happened. What we don't want to do is the whole shouting thing, calling each other idiots or whatever. We generally recognize our mistakes right away and just try to talk it out. And then even if there is a conflict in, I think we should have done that or done this, we do keep it respectful. We're treating each other with the respect that each person deserves. And that allows us that even if we're having a bad set, there is no shouting, there is no yelling at each other in the group chat or anything. It's just, dang, that was a rough day. Or at the very worst, like yesterday, I was hungover like crazy, and we had a scrim set, and I told them, and the game's just not going good. I said, I feel terrible, and those games were annoying. And then we all laughed at, yeah, those games are annoying. All right, GG's, and we all went our separate ways.
Yeah, going back to the vibes thing, you guys may be second on the standings, but as far as like if there was a vibe standings, you guys have to be first. I think it was Saturday. I don't know if you guys were fucking around with the Watson pylon and the Valkyrie tactical, where you were just doing like fireworks into the thing. I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday, but you guys were just dancing around in a room in like a house and just having a great time. And even on, like, I've watched you guys more than I've watched any other team so far this season. And what you said is 100% correct. Like, there's only been a few times where anything was ever like slightly contentious, and even then it was fixed pretty quickly. Like, it seemed like you guys patched it together really well. And this ties into my next question, which is, we talked about Lou a little bit. I feel like he's actually been such a huge pickup in the form of helping Mon out as well, because it seems like they are consistently just bouncing ideas off of one another the entire game. And I used to watch Lou a lot when he was on Lanimals, and I think having that ability to have Monsoon be that IGL, but then Lou be able to pitch these ideas, I'd like to hear from your perspective, but to me, it just looks like a very fluid system that you guys have going when it comes to just the comms.
Yeah. So that was like one of the biggest things that we were searching when we were looking for our third, was someone who could bring that dynamic with Mon, of like balancing the ideas and kind of helping with the co-IGL of like what can we do in the situation, what's important in the situation, and whatnot. There have been plenty of times where Lou saw something, and I can't remember the exact day, but man, there was passion in his voice. He just screamed at the top of his lungs that Mon needed to come back, and Mon really wanted to look forward, but he trusted Lou, and that's something that we try to maintain, is that equal level of trust. If one of us is screaming at the top of our lungs, turn around, come back now, we will take the weight of that responsibility if we happen to be wrong in that moment. But what we also expect of our teammates is to trust you, to trust whoever is making that call to come back. And Lou screamed to come back, and that, I think Mon actually lived with like 2 HP. There was like literally a pixel on my screen when he turned the corner. He's giggling, saying, "Oh my god, I'm almost dead." And that it had Lou not called for that, Mon was probably would have died there, staying out just a little bit too long. I mean, he made it back with, I shit you not, literally a pixel of health. And in other situations, Lou is able to call for what, like, certain things that he sees, and he's bouncing these ideas off, because I'm just going to be waiting to hear that swing, and I'm going to just, like, the calm that they're going to hear is, I'm in there. If he says swing, I told him, like, trust me, I will swing in there. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're going to use me as bait and bait me, and I'm just going to, like, pretty much insta die because I'm flying in, but if that's all you need me to do, then I'll do that with you. And that dynamic has been awesome. We know that they played together back in the day with Zach as well on FlyQuest. And then all the, like, they played together plenty of times for a long time. Then there was that break, and then now, you know, they're back together, and they're kind of picking it up like they never stopped playing. And seeing that kind of flourish, I mean, it was definitely a little rusty at the start, but one thing that I pointed out to them was, when we were scrimming, we started out, we had like a day where I think we got like 3 points over like 6 games or something. We were laughing, saying, "All right, guys, let's not let this happen again. Next day, let's try to set a record for complexity scrims." And then I think one day, literally the next scrim set, we got like 4 points one game, and we were like cheering with each other, saying, "Oh my god, we're beating our best score already." And every day we just improved. For a while, there's actually not a single day where we didn't improve off of our previous scrim set. And that, you could, if you were, I don't know if any of us were really streaming those scrims, but I think you could really hear it as that, like what you're talking about, of them bouncing ideas off each other, just kind of kept getting more fleshed out. And then now we're at where we're at now. And I don't even think we're at our final form. I always bring up how little time we've had as a team, right? And we've kind of had to really work hard to try to catch up to teams who have had time together, established duos, or just even teams that have been together fully for a long time. We had to catch up, and I think we still have a lot of growth ahead of us.
So I don't know if you saw on Twitter or not, but Jason Lake, who is a big member of Complexity, actually just bought back Complexity with a bunch of his buddies. So now they're, a much smaller group owns it, other than they bought it back from Game Square, I believe it was.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys saw the video on Twitter of Jason Lake almost crying right on Twitter after his CSGO team made it to the Copenhagen Major.
Yep.
By beating
Liquid.
It was Liquid.
Yeah.
Beating Liquid. And he was just so passionate and stuff. What does that mean to you guys, like having an owner that is so passionate? And have you guys seen any of that on the Apex side of Complexity?
Yeah, so it's awesome seeing, because I've met him, I say like twice now. Just kind of in passing. He's a busy guy. I mean, as you'd imagine, someone who even before before he bought back Complexity from Game Square, he, as CEO, I mean, he's got a lot on his plate, meetings here and there, calls. He's got to make sure everything's running smoothly. So I haven't had to really gotten the chance to sit down and have like a long chat with him, but it's really awesome to see like an owner who cares and like loves the scene, right? He definitely seemed like the type of guy who just kind of grew up with games, had that passion, that love for gaming, and now he's the owner of an org, and that passion hasn't left. I would imagine, it's like that kid inside of him that, you get home and you load up whatever game, at that time that you're playing, and you're just, juiced out of your mind, ready to play. You can see it. I mean, he's that passionate about their Counter-Strike team, and that one's huge. I think we're like the only NA team, and also for I believe it was ALGS and Grim, I believe, were the two guys, and they basically beat their former teammates. And Liquid, I believe, was the favorite going into that match, and there was an upset. And I think it's kind of cool. And like when I heard about that, because I don't really follow Counter-Strike that closely anymore, but it's pretty cool because that means that in 2 games now, we've kind of upset people's expectations of us. I watched, I think it was a .esport video, and kind of like it made it sound like, oh, no one expected Liquid to lose to Complexity, but here we are. They qualified for the first CS2 major, and then same thing with us. I would say that, I mean, I'd seen all the tier lists. I don't know if you had seen my tweet after that 6th place finish. There is a person who had put us in the relegation tier, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Wait, we need names. I didn't see it.
He works closely with Tempo, so he had
TSM fella.
No. So
Raven put you down.
Chrono?
No, yeah, it was Chrono's tier list originally. I guess it's public, so I try to pray. I don't like throwing names out, but he was definitely
it's
the
on
one.
Twitter. We could find it.
He originally made that team tier list, and we were in the relegation tier. And I remember seeing that, thinking, "Wow, I can understand people not having high expectations for us as a team, for sure." I would say that we definitely weren't the strongest team on paper, but anything can happen. And I think I was saying, Zaman, that I think this season was really going to show teams who put in the effort outside of scrims, and those teams that continue to put the effort just outside of scrims, when cameras are off, streams are off, and still grinding and trying to figure out how they're going to win, that'll really show. And I know Zero. I'm sure people who like watch Zero streams, that guy scrims like in every region possible, and then proceeds to do VOD reviews immediately after scrims. And then
passion.
I have no doubt in my mind he's probably grinding even after his stream ends, doing his own stuff. So, and that shows, right? They're in first place by a lot right now. And it was like last week, they were already guaranteed for LAN. So like it's really showing. But yeah, I'd say it's awesome having, going back to the original question, it's awesome having an owner that is that passionate. And
have you guys seen any of that passion on the Apex side of Complexity?
I personally would say I haven't seen like the same level. I think Complexity has just historically been a Counter-Strike org, so it kind of makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't say that Complexity has had the greatest performances lately in Apex, but hoping to change that, maybe we'll continue to upset some expectations at LAN as well. And who knows, maybe we'll he'll be crying for us,
I think all you need is Chrono to put you guys in relegation again, bro. And just, I don't know about you, but like when somebody doubts me, I'm like, okay, fuck yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? I can't wait to prove you guys wrong. Are you sort of the same when it comes to like when people doubt you or hate you, like you take it in and you're like, fuck yeah, let's do it?
Yeah, 100%. As long as I know who's in my corner, right? And I'll always remember and really appreciate those who are there when you're essentially nothing, right? When you're at the lowest point. And I also remember the flip side, the people who doubt you and say, "Oh no, that team is cooked. They're going to get relegated, or they're not even going to qualify for finals." And I remember that, I think even David Goggins said on one of his podcasts, like he keeps a little like phone book in his head of all the things people have said about him, and he uses that as motivation to help push him forward. Yeah, he doesn't forget, and that's the same thing. I don't forget. I remember I've seen people's tier lists. It's not just Chrono. There's plenty of tier lists that I'd seen.
Yeah,
I've seen plenty of streams. I've watched and seen people's chat messages, Reddit messages. I don't forget. I see that, and it's just added fuel to the fire, because every time if I feel tired and I'm like, I just want to go to bed, or I don't really feel like playing that much today, or doing whatever, or sitting in customs figuring this out, or trying to figure out what comps work from what POIs, how can we do this, where can we evac, whatever it might be. I remember that, and I use that thinking, dang, if I go to sleep now, if I give up now, or if I kind of pull back now, I'm just going to be proving them right, and I'll be damned if I let them be right.
Absolutely. E, what do you got for him?
How big is the Sentinel in terms of your guys' gameplay?
Dude, that is so funny. So even before, like when we were with Cody and Luda, Mon really loves those DMRs, and on Bangalore too. And I'm like watching, thinking like it was rough. And then like now with Lou too, I like, he had brought it up. He's like, how do you feel about Mon always wanting to play like a DMR, and then always preferring specifically the Sentinel? Like he could have a full kit longbow, he'll drop that for a Sentinel. Full kit charge rifle, drop it for Sentinel. Full kit 30-30, and he'll be like, I'll trade you, or whatever it might be. And I said, I had my doubts, but he's farming with it. He is getting us these most random kills, or bleeding teams absolutely dry. I can watch a VOD, and a team, if they don't have a lot of space to play, and every time they're just even slightly poking out, I mean, you get hit for 70. That's a lot of healing you got to do. And if you can't really do anything to stop us from stop Mon specifically from just doing constant damage to you, it's annoying. And you might be forced to stop trying to like show presence or take up a bunch of space, which can have, it's like a butterfly effect. If you don't show enough presence on one side, then the team might think, okay, we can just steamroll these guys. Or, I mean, even just like the fact that you might be going to endgame with 2 cells to your name, and then you watch the VOD later and they're just saying, oh, I just didn't have any heals. Well, where did your heals go? It's because Mon has 1,000 damage because he was poking at you the whole time. And then the amount of times he gets headshots charged up, that's a Kraber. You're getting hit by a Kraber at that point. And that does not feel good. And so there was a doubt even from me at a certain point, but I just said, I'm not even going to bring it up or say anything about it unless I think it's an issue. And it was actually the opposite of that. We actually would just, he would make a team, a broken team. You get a pick and then call for us to thirst. We thirst the guy. And then now we know that's a duo. And so if our next rotation requires us to go that direction, we have the full confidence knowing we're just going to steamroll them because it's just a 3v2. So that Sentinel goes huge. He's a different beast for that. And I know a lot of people don't rate that gun very highly on their tier list of like strong guns either.
Do you think with the marksman nerfs that we'll see, and with the absolute just performance that Mon's been putting on lately, especially that one of the later games on Sunday, that dude had like 15 kills.
21.
Just absolutely
21.
Just nuclear. No, I think he had like 8 in one game or 10.
Oh yeah.
It was absolutely absurd when he was just going to town outside of the other side of wall.
Yeah.
Between that and North Pad, dude, it was gross.
Yeah.
But do you think that we'll see more people lean towards the Sentinel as one of the go-to long range weapons, or do you think that it's such a risk reward that if you're not literally monsoon with it, it's just not worth picking up? Because if you miss like one shot, that can be the difference between a fight because of the amount of time that it takes to get that second one going. If you miss 2, you might as well not even be there.
Yeah. So
as people. as Pete does the musket back for all of those not on the YouTube.
Yeah, so yeah, I would definitely say that I don't think people are really going to pick it up. I still think people it's such an interesting gun. Even like in ranked, I would be like, all right, because like I'd play with him in Reptar, and then Reptar would also pick it up, and the two of them would just laugh because like if they both charge up a Sentinel, they'd just be one tapping people together, or like literally guys just crossing out the open, and even if I hit them early on for 20 damage, and then they both hit him at the same time with the Sentinel, that guy's just dead. And one time I was like, I'm gonna pick it up and try it, and it's definitely one of those. I feel like there's like a bit of a curve to it. I mean, because it has the fastest bullet velocity, and I think the lowest bullet drop off, and so like the way you lead and everything is slightly different than the rest of the guns. It feels it's just such a strange gun. So I don't think we'll see like a lot of people. Maybe a couple people here and there will definitely give it a go, but I still think people will stick with their comfort picks. Guns that are definitely not as high risk. Like you get a scout, right? And if you got a mag on it, I mean, each mag is like 5. It's what white mags to 15,
5 for white,
and then 3.
You go
for
from
blue.
10 to 5.
Yeah,
with a gray mag.
Yeah, and so if you find just a gray
18,
mag,
20.
right, and you just spam that sucker, and if you miss 2 bullets, it doesn't matter, right? You just keep shooting, and that gun hurts too. And Peter is still, a decent gun. It's not like it's completely terrible or unusable or a troll pick. If anything, I would say that if you ask most people, they would say that picking up a Sentinel over a repeater is the troll pick. But I think Mon's really proving people wrong with that one. So yeah, I don't think it's one of those guns where even with Mon showing how much success he's having with it, I don't think people pick it up. I think people would prefer the longbow over it for sure.
Yep. So I think we need to give the viewers a little bit of context here. All right, on 2 things. Number one, I don't know if you guys know this or remember this. The way Monsoon blew up originally on Twitch was through a sniper. All right. He had a disgusting shot on Shroud in the first couple months of Apex, and then got up and did like a little dance or something. And that's how he originally blew up, right? So the guy's always been a shooter with the snipers. But not only that, I think we need to give him context on where Enoch's Sentinel question came from, all right? And I'm going to read you the Monsoon tweet right now. Suck my fat fucking... Hold up, excuse me, sorry. Suck my fucking fat Sentinel dick. I am fucking insane. Fuck you to the guy who called me a free paycheck player. And that was after you guys absolutely dominated on one of the days with the first place 39 kills and second place having 28, which was Dark Zero, by the way. Yeah. So a little bit of context for the viewers back home.
Yeah. He is
a lot of bulletin board material for complexity this year. Like it seems like everybody's got some bulletin board material that they were reading, keeping tabs on, and being like, I can't wait to prove these people wrong. Like it just seems like it was everywhere for complexity this season.
Oh yeah. I mean, even early on, like once I started scrimming with Mon and we would play with Reptar, and then I can't even remember if we really even had like two scrim days, I think, with Lou. Yeah, I mean the comments were crazy. Like on Reddit, they were going crazy. Tweets, everything. I saw it all over the place. And at that time, right, we hadn't played our first match day and all that, but after that first match day finished, I already knew. I was like, oh yeah, we're on track to shut all these fuckers up, and it's gonna be so great. It's gonna feel so good. We can make them eat their words. After that first, I think it was like once everyone had like played a match day, a bunch of the tier lists started getting pumped out too, and at that point, people were just throwing lighter fluid onto a fire. It was I was ready for it. And yeah, I mean, even the messages between us in our group chat, once after this weekend, it was, yeah, everyone had a whole lot to say. Now they don't. Those people are real quiet now, and they don't really have that much to say. And it kind of takes me back to like when people were calling TSM washed, and then Hal had his tweet saying y'all had a lot to say, and now y'all are, they're getting all buddy with them again. And I think it's the same thing. We play a game with a lot of RNG, and things can happen. You can have bad sets, but if the talent is there, if the talent and the hard work is there, you make it happen.
Absolutely.
So we talked a lot about Monsoon and his ability to get kills, and your guys as a squad ability to get kills. But if you take a look at the stats, your point distribution is actually not too crazy. It's 52% kills, 48% placement. So that means not only are you guys getting the kills, but you're also getting put into great spots. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how Monsoon has had such a great job doing like the macro, getting you guys into spots that you guys can survive from and do well from. How did he get to this point? Like was it just a culmination of a lot of things in the off season? Was there anything he worked on you personally with? Like how did he go from where he was to where he is now with being able to put you guys in places to win?
I think he's historically always been able to do that. Definitely a lot of it is just experience. And I think these days people don't put a lot of stock into the experience that some players have. They just kind of look for the next big fragger that can just deal insane amounts of damage. And they neglect everything else. And I think that's kind of silly. If that were the case, then you should just, clone whatever best fragger there is right now 3 times and put them into a game. And sure, they might be a really hard team to fight, but that's not the nature of BR. You don't always get to just have a fair 3v3. Your positioning is really important. And if you can put yourself in just the god spot that is unpushable, then you could be the worst shooter in the world. If you just understand the push-pull of the game, you just win the game for free. And that was something I always preached when I was coaching Complexity before I became a player again, was if your game is kind of devolving into you have to hit a ton of bullets in order to win the game or win the fight, you've messed up at some prior point. At some point before your positioning was bad, you put yourself into a bad spot or something, and you're having to make up for that. And that can happen for sure, right? But I think Mon has just been, he's kind of like a good wine, right? He's just aged with time and gotten better with time. And now it's just, he's always putting us into these great spots that require just that one conversion. And as long as we don't fumble that one thing, we're fine. There's a lot of spots that we play that can be pretty chaotic. And if we're not on our shit, we will die. I can just think of several spots that maybe I don't want to leak, but definitely
don't do it.
It gets dicey. Like, we have to be on top of our comms. We have to be looking at the right spots, and we have to be ready to juggle around and play with each other, on top of each other, swing things together. But if we can do that and live that like initial pressure of like teams trying to kill us, we're good. And that's what I love too, is that he's not just looking for the god spot. He's looking for the spot that also yields, what if we're wrong about zone calls? Can we get out? Can we move to a new spot, or are we just trapped in that spot? And or like, are there kill opportunities? There are times where maybe there is just this, the spot that is probably the game-winning spot, but it just doesn't net kills. You're just in a spot where we're going to sit on our hands for a long time. There's a chance that maybe we're just going to get slammed and die. And instead, he'll opt for a different spot that he sees the opportunities for kills, which is what he is getting with that Sentinel. He loves being in those positions where he can get kills. I want to say it was maybe our 3rd match day, and I think he killed 2 on E8 just running around. We ended up finding this was so funny, a school bus for his Sentinel, and it didn't matter when everyone's bang smoking their feet, he can just see through it. And he charged Sentinel Zach in the face, and yeah, that just hurt. He I think in the lobby chat later, Zach said, yeah, that 158 to my face felt really good. And it's insane. And we're in no danger either from that position. And had we gone to a different spot, we just wouldn't have those sight lines to be able to get those extra points. And I know, even though we won on Sunday, it was pretty close. I think second place is only a point behind us. So like every kill, every point matters.
Does. Full agree. So dude, Give us a little bit of background info on you, right? Tell the viewers who might not know who you are, a little bit about yourself, and what are some video games that made you the gamer that you are today?
So I'm Kimchi Lee. When I originally started playing, it's not Kim Chili, by the way. It's kimchi, the Korean
Tell 'em.
fermented cabbage food. Please, I'm not from
I'm
Chile.
so glad you clarified that. I'm so glad you clarified that. Thank you so much.
The
'Cause I
amount
almost
of
slipped up.
people, the amount of people I've had. You wouldn't be the first. You definitely won't even be the last. Even after this, people will come in and say, "Are you from Chile?" I'm like, "No, I'm not from Chile. My name is." Then they say, "Well, then why is your name Kim Chili?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. It's kimchi, a food, and then Lee, just my last name. The only reason why I would just be Kimchi if I could, but there was already another partnered streamer named Kimchi, so I was like, all right, well, what can I do?" And I said, well, Kimchi Lee kind of flows, and it makes sense because my last name, so I'll just do that. But when I originally joined the game, I was powered by Kimchi because that was when I was doing like all my powerlifting stuff. So like a little play on that. But yeah, I started playing Apex from the start. I got into it because I watched Ninja from Fortnite. Then he started playing a little bit of Apex. And I was like, wow, this game looks kind of cool. So I came over and started playing that. And I think my first like comp team ever was with a dad named Appa, and then a really young kid named Eternal. And the funny thing is, once I joined up with Mon, I told him that he was actually the first. Him and Lou were the first pro team that we killed. I remember it distinctly. And I said, it's crazy how the world works. I would have never have thought when I was geeking out saying, "Oh my god, we just killed FlyQuest," and we were doing the Dougie. We were freaking out like, "Oh my, we beat a pro team, we beat a pro team," and I think we died like immediately after we got like third party or something. But yeah, like that was like the first comp team I ever played with. I'd been playing in comp kind of like ever since, and then I took like a little break after having a little bit of an unfortunate run in Challenger Circuit with, I believe it was Enemy and Fulzy. We kind of dominated, and then I personally had probably the worst weekend of my life, and we just completely bombed out, which was unfortunate considering that we had pretty much won every single Challenger Circuit weekend prior to that. But I'm here now. As for previous games, I don't know if people will really believe it, but Apex was like kind of the first game I ever really got into. I grew up in like a traditional Asian household, so my dog going crazy in the back right there. And it was schoolwork, right? I always tell people like I played League of Legends like maybe 30 minutes too long once, and my dad literally walked in, grabbed my PC, everything's connected, I'm still in game. He's just shouting at me, and he just walked out with it in his arms. Monitor gets pulled off the desk, cables getting unplugged, like keyboards just getting dragged across the ground, and I'm like crying because I just wanted to play League. And so I never really got to play video games. And like as an adult, I only ever got into it because I got injured powerlifting. I tore some ligaments in my left leg, so I couldn't work out anymore. Like normally my day was I'd go to work, I'd work out, and that was it. But now I was like, what do I do with my time? So I started playing a little bit of Fortnite at the time with some of my homies, and then it was Apex. So I had 0 FPS experience or anything. I remember getting into Apex and just getting absolutely shit on by it was like my pred game too by it was Dropped, Sweet, and Huskers, the old Rogue squad.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, how are these guys so good? And I had no idea about anything like who they were. I was like, what the heck is what is a rogue? And like the only org I knew of was TSM at that time, really, from like League of Legends a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of crazy thinking like because like back in the day, I saw I played a little bit of League of Legends and StarCraft, and now like being in the position that I'm in now, I would have never have thought if I like was able to just go back in time and tell 14-year-old me, hey dude, you're gonna be like on a pro team playing Apex Legends for a professional roster. I'd have been like, no way, dad just walked out the room with the PC. I didn't even have a computer after that for I don't even know how long. It was like I think it was like a whole year. I just didn't have a PC. I had to go outside, touch grass every day.
It's crazy how it works, right? And it's actually so rare that like you weren't really a gamer growing up, and years later, you're playing for a team that's like a sister company of the Dallas Cowboys, bro.
Yeah.
Do I got to say it?
Say it.
America's team.
Say it.
No, Patriots. Patriots. Levels, baby. Levels. By the way, America's team right there, bro. Ironically, it's a garbage can, which we are trash this year, but that's a trash can from the 1970s right there. So I'll keep that forever.
There we go. No, it is crazy. It's crazy to see how, I mean, we've talked to so many different people, and you'd be surprised how many people kind of have a similar background where it was like, it wasn't really at the forefront of what they did when they were younger. Like gaming was kind of just something secondary to whatever else they were doing. But I do think that is kind of crazy. Do you ever think your dad was just mad because you were playing League? Did you ever ask him that question? Just like maybe it's just because it was League.
No, it was definitely just like, it's parents that immigrated to the U.S. and they want like you have to think like just even it's crazy to think that even just one generation back like that life was so different, right? And so I'm not. I give them because my mom when I saw them for Christmas she was like, "Do you know who Faker is?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know who Faker is. I could have been the next Faker, but you guys took my PC away." So I always give him like a little mess with him a little bit, but I don't think it. I think it was just he didn't see gaming as what it is now, and I don't think anyone could have back then really seen like, oh, gaming's going to blow up the way it did. And at that time, right, it was just like it's a waste of time. It is what are you just sitting at your at home playing this video game? What are you doing with your life, right? My dad would have much rather seen me, which was what I did, because I didn't have any reaction like that if I didn't come home on time because I was out on my mountain bikes with my friends and just being hooligans doing whatever, like riding trails late at night. He didn't care. He would just be like, stop being so late. But because like then I'm being physically active, right, or something. So he definitely just did it it came from a place of love. Like he wanted to see me succeed in the only way he knows, right? Which is doing well in school or like even like sports. Like he didn't care if like sports was fine too, because you see the NFL exists, NBA exists. Like it's proven like you can make a career if you're really good at sports. But at that time, gaming wasn't the same. You did not make a career from gaming. It was, if anything, tournaments back then. You were playing on, shitty CRT TVs with a bunch of sweaty dudes for like $500 maybe, right?
Yeah.
So
it's so crazy how far it's come. Like it's actually like night and day. Have they kind of come around a little bit more now? Like obviously you have made something of yourself in gaming. Do you guys ever like talk about it now?
Yeah. So I think the first time I told my parents that I was like, I need to get my passport to go to Split One Land last year, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're getting flown out to London to do gaming," and they were like, "What?" And they definitely see it now, and they're super excited. My mom I had to teach her how to like use Twitch or like YouTube to like watch, and there was like. She told me once that she tried to like type to me when like we were on stage, and I was like, "No, Mom, I can't see your message." Like, because she was like, "You didn't say anything back." I'm like, I don't know what you're like. I'm up. I don't even have my phone on me. Like, Mom, that's not how it works. But it's cool now. Like they're very supportive, and like that's why I could never be mad. Is like whatever they did and everything they continue to do for me, it comes from a place of love. They just want to see me succeed. And they're just doing things based off what they know and from their generation. And even like my girlfriend's parents, right? Like it's definitely a bit of a shocker, especially for his dad. Like her dad, like that guy literally came to America from Vietnam on a rowboat. Like that's insane. Like how can I like what am I like? Then I tell him like, oh yeah, I'm playing video games for a living, by the way, and he's like, what?
Two different worlds.
Yeah, it's insane to think how different, even just one generation, Like, dude's coming across what he had to fight off pirates that were trying to steal like golden teeth implants, and he's telling me these stories, and I'm like, what?
He might need to
You're like,
write a book, bro.
you're like, I hit a 6 sentinel shot the other day.
Yeah, that's like, yo, my teammate like absolutely shit on whoever with a sentinel, and he's like, you have a job?
You wouldn't believe it. It was 158 to the face. You wouldn't. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You had to be there. You
Yeah,
had to be
like,
there. Yeah.
it's crazy.
From one immigrant family to another, bro, I know a little bit about it. I want to know what their initial reaction was. All right, because I know it probably was not what you wanted when you told them, "Hey, this is what I want to pursue. It's a career in video games."
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely caused a lot of heartache for my family, or for my parents specifically, because like out of high school I didn't immediately go to college because I didn't get into the military academies, which is what I applied to, and so that was a little rough. Then I enlisted into the military because it's like an easier way to get into the academies if you do that. I would go to the military academy, like one of the most prestigious schools in the world, right? Like West Point has a lower acceptance rate than Ivy League colleges. And
You went to West Point?
yeah, I went for 1 year.
That's big, dude.
So
That's big.
yeah, I went for 1 year, and then I tell my parents like, yeah, I'm coming home. And then they're like, what's your plan? I'm like, yeah, no plan really. I'll go to school, but like no plan really. And from that to like, then I had like a regular job. I worked for a school district as like basically I just did like network stuff, and then into gaming. And my, like, I felt like it was like constant. I was like going down steps for them. They were like, oh, like my son's going to West Point. Then he left West Point. Oh, he's working and like doing this and going to school. All right, he like now he's gaming. And when I first told them, they were just kind of like, I think they definitely gave me the vibe of like, we'll just see, like they trusted me, and they said we'll see how it pans out. They knew that they could trust that I wouldn't do something so stupid where suddenly I'm like, yeah, I have no money and I need to come live with you guys now for a while.
Yeah.
And I think they're happy that it's like paid off. My mom like geeks out if I'm ever on like the Play Apex stream. She watched like my interview with the cowboy hat on. And
yeah.
she showed me
That
like
was
her
so
group
sick.
chat with her friends, and there's like just screenshots of it. I'm like, Mom, you can like send them the link or whatever. And she's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, okay, never mind then. Just send the screenshots, I guess. But yeah, she'll be like, yeah, my son's on TV.
It again, two different worlds, right? And I remember when I told my family like I wanted to start like going down a career path of video games instead of real estate, which I was doing
Yeah.
really, really well in Boston. My mom just looked at me and she said, "Are you crazy?" That's all she said to me. And I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to explain. My dad nearly lost his mind, right? Like, mind you, when he came from Brazil to America, he was working 2 jobs, sleeping 4 hours, going to the next one, sleeping 4 hours, going to the next one, right? So they nearly lost their mind. I mean, did your family have any similar reaction, or what was their reaction?
They were pretty chill about it. I'm not gonna lie,
Really?
because I was an education major, and then I swapped out of my license program to a non-license because I was gonna get my master's in counseling and counseling education, and go into that. But before like going that route, I just felt like I was supposed to do streaming, so I was like, okay, I'm full attention, giving it all I got. Let's see what happens. And they were chill about it. They were like, yeah, like if you think you can like do this, they'll let me at it. But so like I think that with how confident I was with it, they were like, okay, like it'll be fun. And like worst case scenario, if everything fell apart, like I was still gonna like figure it out and be fine for the most part. So it definitely was nice to have that safety net.
I think that might have just been like an immigrant family reaction then, because my dad nearly lost his mind. My mom looked at me like I had 10 dicks on my head, and like my little brother was like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
So it's great that you had that support early on. I only got it once I showed him a nice paycheck, and I was like, Dad, look, this is what I made in a month. He was like, oh, okay. He's like, I showed
All
him
the
a
worry
paycheck.
just washed away.
No, not necessarily until I hit number one. Until I hit number one and I started getting those crazy numbers. But a couple years before that, I showed him a check for $10,000. It was my biggest month ever at the time. And I'm like, look, Dad, like this is what I made from video games, which is again a blessing that we're able to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, he just looked at me, straight face, barely any reaction, just said, you might have something. Just that. And on to the next topic. You know, which is like it's a check for $10,000 in a month, which is insane. You know,
That's sturdy.
Yeah, it's like
That
me
is
selling
sturdy,
two
sturdy.
houses basically. So, but that was
It's like, I think it's part of it is also, you know, your parents will never admit that they're wrong, right? To this day, like actually when I cooked a prime rib for the family over Christmas for Christmas dinner. I told my dad, I said, don't worry about it. I'll buy the meat. I'll bring the meat, and I'm gonna do it all. Like, so I don't want you to do it, because historically he was always the one doing it. And I said, I want you to chill out, relax. Like, don't worry, I got it. And like he's watching me do some of it, and he's like trying to tell me, I'm like, no, Dad, don't worry. And he's like, oh no, I think you're gonna ruin it. I'm like, no, this is how it has to be done. Like, trust me, Dad, it'll be better than your prime ribs. And he's like, I don't know what, he like grumbled and like walked off, sat down on the couch, and I could still see him. He's sitting at the couch and he's like peeking over, like watching as I'm like doing my thing. And I even go put the meat into the grill. He had a Traeger, and I like looked at the timer, and I was like super tired, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go nap for like 30 minutes. She's like, no way. I'm like, Dad, what am I supposed to do with a big ass prime rib in there? You want me to sit there, open, rotate? Like, no, it'll be fine. Like, trust me. He's like, you're gonna ruin it. Come back, and when I got it out, everything was perfectly cooked. Got it to temp, and I cut it for him. The look on his face, he was like, good job. That's like that. That's it. And he's like, that
He
was
didn't want to give any more.
Yeah,
he probably had so much he wanted to say, but he's like, I can't say it.
Yeah, he's like, I
gotta
can't
keep
admit
it
that
inside.
I'm wrong. It says, yeah. I mean, I'm sure like my parents, their reaction, like just knowing them, even though it was pretty mild, when they're just like, oh, or like when I'm saying like that I was gonna do gaming and like stream and whatnot, definitely like what their response was like a filtered response. Like in the back of their mind, my mom probably also saw like 8 dicks sprouting at the top of my head, and it's just like, okay, like you were gonna graduate from this crazy like academy, and you know have this perfect career laid out for yourself in the military, and now you're going to be playing games. But okay, but yeah, they've warmed up a bit now. Like I would say same thing like as you. It's like I think it's like they're happy to see that it's going well, but they still don't fully understand it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the understanding bit. Like I don't it's like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think my parents will go to the grave not fully understanding what I'm doing, but just happy that like I'm happy and doing my thing.
that's kind of how I sold my parents. I was like, listen, when you guys were born, we didn't even have the internet, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the world that we live in now. And yeah, they sort of, you know, the way I sold them, I was like, listen, do you want to see me miserable or happy?
Yep.
My mom looked at me. She was like, happy, of course, like blah, blah, blah. She's one of the, arguably the sweetest person in the world. And I'm like, all right, well, this makes me happy. This is what I'm going to do, you know, and you guys could support it or not. No matter what, I'm going to do it, you know? So they're like, all right, fuck it. And then I hit number one, and they're like, oh, okay. Okay, I see you. And then they're on Twitch now. They're, you know, looking at all the tweets and everything. And so it's funny how it goes, but it all comes from a place of love,
Yeah.
you know, from all our families. So it's
Yeah.
good.
That's it's always nice to like keep that in the back of my mind. You know how it is, right? When you grow up, like I actually saw like a tweet about it. It's like the stages of like how you feel like towards your parents as you grow up. You know, like when you're in the teens and you're like, like my parents suck, they hate me, like they're doing all that. Then you get to a certain age, and I've definitely now. I mean, there's 3 of us that are 28 now. And we're at that age where it's like, damn, like I understand like where they're coming from like a lot more now, that like especially things they've done in the past, right? They like it's all they did. It's not they didn't hate me. They did it because like whatever decisions they made was out of love, because they wanted to see me succeed. They didn't want me to fail. They had done so much, so it's always good to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, like getting older and just kind of realizing it too, because I literally sent a text message to my dad this weekend, tears in my eyes, like I'm holding them in as hard as I can. And it was basically what you just described. It was like me at 14. What is my dad talking about? He doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Me at 16. I hate him so much. Me at 18. Okay, he's helping me out a little bit. And then it like goes all the way down. And then me at like 28 or whatever, just being like, he was always there for me. He knew what was right all along. He was just trying to help.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there just like,
Yeah.
like just sit, because like I'm going through like a tough time right now in like other stuff, like my job and stuff. And it was, he's been sending me things every day to keep me motivated, keep me pumped, keep me moving. And that's like kind of just how our parents were. And when we were younger, we just didn't know. We didn't understand. We didn't realize it. They're there for you all the time. They're there to help you at all times. And even when they're, like you said, your parents were giving that kind of like auto reaction to not hide, like maybe they're a little bit worried. It's just because they want you to be the best that you could possibly be. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very, very good point from somebody who has immigrant parents coming from, you know, somewhere else, just wanting to see their children survive and thrive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They literally breaking their backs to try to support you and help you. Like, I think the analogy was like, they're like a bow and you're the arrow, and they're going to just keep bending and bending until like they think they're about to snap, to try to help, you know, launch you as far forward as possible. And they don't, like, at a detriment to them. They don't care any about themselves anymore. It's all about you. And yeah, but now they have grandchildren, so I'm like on the back burner now. They don't really care about me like that anymore. They care about the three grandchildren my sister gave them, which is really funny. Like they are in love. Like it's funny seeing that, because I know like my grandparents, when they were here, they did the same for me. But it's even funnier being this age and now seeing it as my parents are like obsessed with my nephews. And I'm like, I'm over here like, can they stop playing with that toy truck that just has sirens that's on 24/7? I think I'm losing my mind. All I hear is wee woo, wee woo for 12 hours a day. And I'm sitting there just like, I'm going to lose my mind. And they're just happy that they're just smiling.
Yeah, it's funny to watch them get into the grandparent stage, where all the things that they would like yell at you at when when like the kids do it, they're just laughing.
Yeah, I'm like I used to get spanked for that. Like what? Like what is this, man? Like, and you just like, they're doing whatever. Like, oh no, don't do that. I'm like, I didn't get that treatment. What the heck?
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, I love that, and I love to see that they've kind of come around to it, and that they're at the very least just supporting it, like excited to see you on the big screen. And I am almost positive that we're going to be seeing you on the big screen here coming up in Split One Land. It's going to be super exciting to see. You want to hit him with it?
Yeah. Are we closing it out?
I was about to. Yeah. Did you have anything else?
Yeah. Oh no, we're good.
Okay.
All right, so Kimchi, the question that I ask everybody who comes on the pod, because everybody who comes on the pod is performing in the top 1% of the field that they are in, and you certainly, without a doubt or a shred of a question, fit the bill for that, especially as you basically already have your ticket booked to land, which is going to be super exciting. What is one thing you've learned on this path to this place of being in the, like, firmly in the top 1% that somebody could take regardless of the field that they're pursuing, and apply it to help them reach that level in whatever it is that they're chasing after?
I would say it's a quote I try to live by. I heard it in the military, and I've tried to always keep it going on. And I know it works. It kind of fits the bill of what you're saying, because I've applied it throughout everything that I've done. And the quote is, "Come what may, stay the course." And it basically is like, the way I interpret it is like, no matter what happens, whatever hardships or obstacles come on in or whatever, you just got to keep doing you. Like, it's going to be hard. I mean, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So and like I always see that as like, you will hit these filters in life, which are obstacles. The big obstacles, I always see it as big filters. And if you got it, you'll make it through that filter and you go to the next step and you'll keep on moving. And so that is something I try to like kind of repeat in my head. It's nice and short and sweet. Can't ever forget it. Is whenever something's hard, I would just say, I have to, I might not say the come what may part. It's just stay the course. Like, no matter what, like, I'm just going to keep going, because I did not come this far to stop here. Like, I'm going to keep going.
Beautiful.
I like
That's
it.
beautiful stuff. Well, Kimchi, this has been awesome. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff we could have talked about here, because there's just a ton. But we are super excited to see you guys go to land. I'm just going to call it right now. You guys are going to land. I'm super excited to see it. I said earlier in the pod that I've watched you guys more than any team this season. That is because I made you guys my inaugural pick to win LAN this split. Like, this split, I made you guys my pick earlier. I think it was after your guys' second match day. I was like, this is my team. I'm riding with this team at the very least until split one is over. So you guys are my team. I'm riding with you. I'm super excited. And I'm gonna be locked in every single stream, every single day. I'm locked. I'm ready for it. So I can't wait to see you guys perform. And hopefully, after this whole thing is done, we're bringing back the trophy. I want you guys to bring back that trophy. Prove me right. Me right, because I predicted it on the podcast. Please prove me right.
Hey, like I said,
anyway, man,
it's
been
the
a
same
pleasure.
thing. You got the haters in your head that you want to prove wrong, and it's the same thing as I. Like I said, it's like, I remember the people who are supportive from the beginning, right? Not the people who are joining on the bandwagon once things are going well. I'll like, those people are like, sure, I appreciate the support then, but there's a special place for the people who are supporting when no one else is, right? So I appreciate that. And it's the same thing. I'm going to use that as motivation to fuel the fire, prove you right, prove everyone else wrong. So
let's go.
Yeah, I'll scream your name. And we'll be holding the trophy. I'll just scream it at the top of my lungs.
Okay,
man.
you guys win this LAN, which I know you guys will. I'm getting the Kimchi jersey. I'm copping.
Oh,
It's on the way.
I had it right there earlier, but got it. I got you.
There we go.
You don't even have to buy it. Awesome. I'll get you one.
I would love it. That'd be so nice. That'd be awesome. All right, man. Well, this has been a pleasure, and like I said, man, we wish you the best of luck coming in. Let's bring home that trophy, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys so much.
All right, ladies and gents, that was Kimchi. That's our guy. And I think I might be getting a Kimchi jersey.
What a guy.
Even though he said he was going to give me his, I still might get another one. I might have a home and an away. I might just run it like that. I might just run it like
signed.
That. Yes. I didn't even ask for that, dude. I need to do that.
I'll do it.
That's our guy. Shout out Kimchi. Great interview with him. Okay, ladies and gents, let's get to the heart to heart. All right, ladies and gents, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Does anybody want to go first?
I'll take it.
Nah? You got it? Okay.
Heart to heart. Just grateful, man. I'm good place in life, man. Just blessed. It's the same every week, man. But I think I don't know, man. I love what I do, bro. I love what I do. You know, you get to wake up, play video games whatever time you want, and it's just a blessing, man. It's a blessing, and you know, family's healthy, family's good. Can't complain, man. What about you boys?
I'll go next. I've mentioned him a lot of times on this show, and I've also mentioned him in this interview. But we were talking about parents, and it was my dad's birthday this week. He's been helping me out big time because I'm not exactly in the place I want to be with like my job and stuff. I'm very grateful that I have one. especially in this market right now. But I'm just not quite where I'd like to be. But he's been sending me things every single day to help me get through it. And it was cool to celebrate his birthday this weekend and get to appreciate just him being there, because in the blink of an eye it could all just be gone and I would be without a major um, guiding light. So I always like to think about that, put it in perspective. I think Gary V, he said some crazy quote where he was just like, "Do you love your parents?" And the kid was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, just picture them being dead right now." And I laughed at that clip because it's funny. But then, like, dude, as weird as this sounds, I think he's kind of right. Like, if you put it in perspective like that, and you're just like, what if they weren't? The way he said it was terrible. But if you think about that and just put that in perspective, and you just kind of look at, you know, what they do for you, and remember how much of a loss it would be if they weren't there, it does kind of go through, and you realize real quick how important they are. So shout out to my dad, happy birthday. I'd also other heart to heart, I've been watching a lot of Blues Clues with the little one. She just turned 3 months, pretty damn close to 4 months now on the 17th. So she'll be 4 months pretty soon. But watching a lot of Blues Clues, and I realized that show is actually goated. She locks into that show, and she smiles like at the TV as it's playing. Like whenever Steve shows up, she's smiling. Steve didn't get the credit he deserved for, one, being able to have a sick ass show, and number two, his drawing skills underrated. That guy can draw a perfect circle. Every time he has to draw a circle, it's perfect. Every single time. So shout out Steve from Blues Clues. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. E, your heart to heart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thankful. Like, even with all the stuff that you could look at and you could be like, oh, like that's not going so great. It's just like my worst day is amazing. Like my absolute, like the worst day I could have is literally just filled with like more blessings than I can count. And I just want to always be grateful, because there's been times where I could look at certain areas, like, and I'm more grateful for like where I'm at right now than I have been previously, with like better metrics than I currently have. And so I'm really thankful for that, because it's like, I'd rather be grateful and have like less going on than to be ungrateful with more, because I just think that like I just rather be grateful, because like it's just ultimately more important for me. And I know that the more grateful I am, the more things I'm gonna have to be grateful for, and I'm just gonna do my best to just get on that wave and ride it to wherever it takes me.
Less is more sometimes, man. It's kind of weird.
Yep. It is, but that's a good heart to heart. And boys, that was a good show. That was a banger show. Shout out to Kimchi for hopping on with short notice. Shout out to him. Shout out to you guys for listening. As always, we have another big doubleheader this weekend, and then after that, we've got fucking regional finals. Everything's going to be locked in, and then it is land time. So we will have you guys locked in. We'll have all the analysis for you next week, breaking down all these games. We are tired as shit. We are up way too late, so we're going to go to bed.
I got to go get water.
And thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Yeah. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Apex Podcast.
See you.
See.